New Jersey Devils prospect Artem Shlaine joined me on today's episode of Locked On Devils. We talked about his playing career up to this point, coming over from Russia to North America, and his collegiate journey, and what was it like being drafted in the midst of a pandemic. So much to discuss with Artem, who recently committed to Arizona State University. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. Joining me on today's show is a player who was selected in the 5th round of the 2020 NHL Draft by the New Jersey Devils. He originally hails from Moscow, Russia, and has been all over the country playing at the collegiate level for UConn, Northern Michigan, and now he is committed to play at the best school out west. Yes, I'm biased, at Arizona State University. It is Artem Shlaine. Artem, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. Doing great still at Northern, finishing up school, finish up classes my senior year. But yeah, I'm ready to kind of head home in a week, have graduation soon. So yeah, excited for next year as well.
Awesome. We'll get into your commitment to ASU later on in the show. But to begin this talk, I want to ask you, where did hockey begin for you?
But actually began just skating wise, began not even in hockey, was figure skating. And my mom brought me in. I was 5 years old to figure skate, and didn't work out well for me. I didn't really like it being an individual. I loved always playing team sports and kind of being a part of something. So I did that for I think 5-6 months, and then told them that I don't want to do it because it's super individualistic and I want to be on a team. So my dad was at the time big hockey fan growing up, and he took me to a local hockey rink, and I don't think kids started skating yet, so I was kind of playing a year up, but I was skating better than those kids because I already had some experience of figure skating. So I was very excited because when you're the better than everyone else, you get super excited as a kid. So that's kind of how I got into it. Yeah.
So when you first got into it, how far did you think you would take it? Because obviously people's skill sets are different. What was the epitome in which you realized I could probably take it to another level?
I think growing up, at first I was on a local hockey team, and it wasn't, something really good. It was just kids who live close by, and they want to do something as an activity after school. And my dad would come from work and watch me skate around, and I didn't really think about it because I was little. But as you grow up, you kind of start realizing that not only this is what you love to do, it only can be your future source of income, and your future in general. And later on, a couple of years after, I got invited to a better team, like one of the best teams in Moscow and one of the best teams in Russia, like youth hockey programs. And that's kind of when I think my dad realized that, maybe I can grow into something special. But for me, it still wasn't, anything like thinking about the NHL and stuff. Like you watch games and you kind of get excited for those guys, but I never had a thought that I, can even be close to being on that level. But as you grow up again, you kind of start, the better you get, the more you want. Kind of that idea stuck with me. And later on, I think moving to the United States was and I guess we're going to get there, but was the kind of the pivotal point of my career so far. So, yeah.
So a lot of people talk about the difference of playing in North America and also playing in Europe. And you talked momentarily about moving to the States to try to give yourself a better opportunity. Can you talk about the adjustment from playing in Russia to now playing in North America?
Yeah, no, it's a big difference for me, and my parents me and my parents decided to move because of educational and hockey reasons. Because in Russia you can't combine education and school. I know it sounds weird, especially for Americans, because in Russia you have the youth hockey team, and then you grow into like the junior hockey, and it's all connected for the same. Like, let's say the junior Blues, and then you grow up and you play for the Blues kind of they would have a junior team, and then you grow up and you play pro hockey for St. Louis Blues. But that's how it works in Russia. So there's no like draft or anything like that in the KHL. But the reason for me was that I was on a good youth hockey team, but I was kind of coming to that age where I could play junior hockey at 14 years old, 15. And I could, like, the practices are the same time as your classes because it's not connected. They don't have any like prep school hockey or college hockey, anything like that. So you have to decide either you want to be a hockey player, put everything on the line, and you kind of lack that educational aspect, or you go the other way and you kind of be like, okay, I don't think I'm going to make it in hockey. I'm going to go and focus on school. So for me and my parents, that was like, my dad knew about college hockey and has some friends that were in the North America area. And he kind of told me about this college hockey aspect, and me being, a 14-year-old kid, didn't know about it. And it came an opportunity to move to the United States so I can, go with the college hockey path and go to a prep school, finish my high school education at a prep school, and then see kind of where it takes me. Because I think at that time I was like a pretty good player on my team, which was one of the best teams in the country. So my dad thought that, if I move, I can get somewhere and get more exposure in the United States. But going back to your question, the first biggest difference when I came here is obviously the sheet size. That's big. And, Olympic versus NHL. And as a kid, especially, there's so much ice because teams are not as structured and you're just kind of playing based on your sole skill. So you have so much ice. But here I came to the United States and there's no ice at all. There's no time to make a decision. You got to be quick with it. Like, a lot of shots are coming from different areas because everything can go in because everything is between the dots pretty much. So that was one of the biggest differences, like just in playing style. And here it's more of like, in Russia, it's more of a possession game. And just in Europe, like if you watch any European hockey, any Swedish hockey, it's all Finnish league. It's all possession game, good defensive teams. In the U.S., it's very different. It's a lot of shooting, a lot of battles, way more battles, and way more 50-50 situations. So I think that's kind of where my game grew to and kind of took a different turn and for the best.
Don't worry, there's still more in store with Artem. But before we continue, let me tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Okay, let's get back to our discussion with Artem Shlaine. Take it away once again. I think it's safe to say that you took advantage of the opportunity. We'll talk about the process of the NHL draft momentarily, but what was the process like of getting your name out there in the first place?
Well, at first when my dad was looking for options for me to play in the United States, we kind of just looked at, programs that in Detroit area, Boston area, Minnesota, and all over kind of the place, just to, find a common hockey program that has an education for me as well. And after all, we got recommended the program in South Florida, it was their first year, and they had the owner was an NHL player, and Olli Jokinen played for the Kings and the Panthers, and so he kind of put it together with Thomas Volkone, who played for the Wild and played for the Panthers a little bit too. And they kind of built the program, and so it was half of the guys were Europeans, like Finnish guys, which they had obviously both of the coaches being European. They had a lot of connections in Europe. So they brought in guys from Czech Republic, Finland. We had a guy from Switzerland, Germany, and so on. I was myself from Russia. And the other half was kind of more of like Florida kids and around the area. So our team was pretty balanced and way more competitive than any other Florida team. So we never played a game in the state of Florida. We'd always fly on the weekend and travel to Boston or Detroit or any a hockey city and play a showcase, play 3-4 games there, and then fly back to Florida. So which was very, very interesting and very new to a kid, at 15 years old. But I really wanted, my dad always wanted me to send me to Shattuck because Shattuck is considered, the Harvard of hockey. And, I think it's the best hockey program, youth hockey program in the country, if not maybe the world. And I always consider it. And that place is special to me and is going to be special rest of my life. But the tuition was so high that my parents couldn't send me from Russia because obviously the living conditions in Russia and the United States are way different with salaries and just, pure living standards. So the tuition was so high, my parents couldn't afford it. So they had to send me to South Florida, which was cheaper. And I got to go to a really good prep school in Florida and play for Olli Jokinen, who I still talk to this day. I think it was good for the cultural purposes because when you're a kid, and I didn't know any English, so I had to learn with all the other guys, and it helped me being with other guys from other countries. They didn't know English as well, so we'd be all together kind of going through it instead of being, surrounded by all Americans and them having a good time talking to each other and me just listening and, not understanding anything. Going through it with the European guys was really special and big for me for, kind of adjusting to the culture and getting acclimated in the States. And after I played a year, and like you said, the numbers kind of were good for me, and I played a year up, so that helped too. And I got noticed by one of the Shattuck coaches, and they kind of emailed my dad back and said, like, if I want to play for Shattuck, like it's they have a great opportunity for me with good like financial package and stuff like that. So that was unreal, and that kind of was a no-brainer for me. So then I kind of went to Shattuck.
So while with South Florida during the 2017-2018 campaign, you appeared in 62 games and you put up 89 points. And then for Shattuck, you appeared in 56 games and you put up 90 points the very next season. And you had 2 phenomenal years while playing for Shattuck. And it kind of leads into my next topic, which is the NHL Draft. When did you realize that it was a possibility that NHL scouts were interested in you and that you might hear your name called during the 2020 NHL Draft?
I think, how kids always think about when they're little or they're kind of growing up, they watch those NHL games and they're like, all I've been hearing when I was around my peers was, I want to play in the NHL. I want to win a Stanley Cup. I want to play in the Olympics. I want to win an Olympic gold medal and so on. And, I never kind of understood them because my goal since I was probably 12 and kind of was really got into hockey and was really interested in it and excited about it was just to get drafted. And I've seen like those young Russian guys getting drafted like earlier, like some guys that, were in the same youth program that I was in Russia, but like they were like 4 or 5 years older than me. They were getting drafted and I was watching every draft with my dad. And that was the most exciting part of the summer was watching the draft and seeing those guys drafted and being like, oh, like this guy, I've seen him skate and now he's going to go and have a great chance playing in the NHL. But I think my first year at Shattuck was kind of like, it started off pretty tough and it was tough for me because I was playing a year, either 2 years, the guys were a year or 2 years older than me. And I was a younger kid. So it was a little tough to start, but then I kind of figured my way out. And I think since then I had a good national tournament at the end of my junior year. And that's kind of where a lot of schools were interested in me. And that's kind of how I because there were scouts watching some guys who that was their draft year who were on my team, like Jackson Lacombe, Brendan Brisson, some other guys. So NHL scouts were watching them, but I guess they're taking a little peek and watching me too, because my draft year would be the next year. So I think that's the moment when I realized I could be, I could get drafted and have a real chance was that my junior year of high school. And then, it was a big decision for me if I wanted to play junior hockey in the USHL after my junior year of high school, or if I want to come back to school and finish education and stay at Shattuck. And, I chose to stay at Shattuck, and I think it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because that kind of gave me an opportunity to, be a leader on a team, play freely, play with good players, play against good teams, and get a lot of exposure from NHL scouts. And finally, getting drafted was kind of the pinnacle on top and the dream that I've had since I was 12.
And what was it like knowing that you were drafted by the New Jersey Devils? Did you know anything about the organization? What was that phone call like, and the process of later being able to participate in a couple development camps over the summer?
Throughout my senior year, I've had a lot of interviews with some different teams. That was kind of before COVID hit. So you would have your interviews in person, they'd come to a game, you'd play a game, and then you'd sit in the back room with them and they'd ask you some weird questions. And it was a good amount of teams. So at that point, you don't really know. Some teams, they talk to you more than others. So you kind of understand that they're more interested in you than others. And you do some questionnaires, and it was kind of like that the whole year. And then COVID hit, so we didn't get to play in the national tournament, which was kind of a part of me why I stayed at Shattuck, was to win the national tournament, because we didn't get it done my junior year. And then COVID hit, which was tough just for me, and kind of, not getting my dream kind of come true about winning the national championship at Shattuck was a part of it. But like I said, and the draft got postponed, right? And the draft was, I think it was in the fall, or it was somewhere in September, I believe. So I had to wait the whole summer kind of without playing, and nobody was playing. Everything was shut down, and you would have to do Zoom interviews with NHL teams too. But leading up to the draft, I just got on campus at UConn, and I was watching with my teammates, because we had some other guys who were draft eligible too and getting drafted as well. So we're just in the living room of an apartment watching the draft, and obviously it was online. So you would just see the names pop up, and I kind of knew that I wasn't, that good to get drafted in the first round. So the first day I was just watching it and enjoying it, and kind of seeing some of my buddies getting drafted, and that was super exciting. But then the second day, kind of then, the nerves kick in, and you're like, you can get drafted from the second round to the seventh round, because you kind of don't know the process. So I was sitting there and from the morning and watching. And then it's crazy that when New Jersey drafted me, I was on the phone with my dad, and I was just talking, because one of my close friends got drafted the round before. So I was talking to my dad. Before that, I was paying attention to every pick that popped up on the screen. And at that moment, I was talking to my dad, not looking at the screen at all. And then all my teammates at UConn started just jumping up and kind of, yelling. And I look at the screen, and my name popped up with the Devils logo right next to it, which was, super exciting. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for every kid. And for that to come true, just shows how much work you put in, and, getting rewarded. Yeah, no, it was definitely a moment that I'll remember forever.
What's up? It's me again. Before we continue our discussion even further with Artem Shlaine, let me tell you about Game Time. I love using the Game Time app. I've actually used it to buy NBA and MLB tickets. Last minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Flash deals, save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Zone deals, save even more when you choose a section, and like Game Time, choose the seats. All-in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a good view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let me get you guys hip to something, because I know a lot of you are pretty competitive for the most part, and we got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that before in a prior episode, But let me just tell you, there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers. You can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new time events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on, everybody. Speaking of being competitive, let's get back to our discussion with Artem Shlaine, Devils prospect. Take it away once again. Now, I just got to ask you this because you were drafted in 2020. We were still in the midst of a pandemic, and I remember covering that draft, and it was a little unorthodox and the entire process. So from your perspective, what was different compared to prior drafts? Because obviously I can talk about it from my perspective, but you were actually within that experience.
Mm-hmm. I think that the biggest part is obviously it being online, so you don't get to, come to the stadium and be with all of your friends and your family and watch it in person, which kind of I wanted to do since I was a kid, was get in that stadium. And even though like the first rounders, they come up on the stage and I knew I wasn't going to be a first rounder, like just being there and watching it. And then in the second round, still going downstairs, how like all the draft tables are set up and kind of meeting with the organization that drafts you. That was kind of part of my dream as well. That's how I visualized it. And not being able to do that was, the kind of I guess the bad part about it. But I think it was pretty exciting to be a part of the draft that, kind of almost never happened before, and there's never a draft through the pandemic. So being kind of in that draft class makes it special, and going through it makes it special. But the other thing is, obviously every draft is conducted in end of June usually, but now that one was in the fall. It was all in September, I believe. So kind of going through those 3 months, not knowing what you're like, kind of having that dream, but not having so much time though to go through it and thinking about it every day, what's going to happen, because you can't play. So it's out of your hand. So that was kind of the tough part about it. But yeah, no, but I was super excited to get drafted. It doesn't matter if it's through the pandemic or if it's the real draft. I think everyone gets drafted in the same, kind of they have their name and they have the logo right next to it. They get the jersey. So yeah, no, it was pretty exciting.
We'll talk about your collegiate experience momentarily and your commitment to ASU, but we talked before the recording, and you were at development camp last year, and I was actually covering it. Well, we didn't interact, but it was still nice to know that we were still within that same proximity of one another. But so far with the Devils, you have appeared in a couple development camps, and having been there myself, I know like you guys are given the locker rooms for the Devils players. Amanda Stein, the team reporter, is giving interviews, all that. What was it like throughout that week, just putting on the Devils uniform, going into the locker room, interacting with some of the coaching staff, and basically just being within the Prudential Center, because the practice facility is in the same area as where the Devils play. It's in the same building.
Right. Well, no, I think they do a great job there with their camp. Well, I've been there for 2 years, and my first year when I came in, it's kind of you're new, and it was weird because I got drafted in 2020, but it was 2 years later I got to attend my first camp. So you would see the kids that you got drafted with for the first time at camp. So it was kind of a time where I got in, and I was a little shy, I guess, my first year, and didn't know how to what to expect from it. But it was very fun. It was a great opportunity. Had a lot of fun, met a lot of new people, and kind of built relationships through the camp. But my second year, I came in, I was very confident in myself, and I think it also comes from me having a really good year at Northern my junior year. I was really confident in my abilities, and I wasn't coming to a camp just to have fun and stuff. It was to showcase myself and show New Jersey what kind of I have become through the 3 years I've been with them. So I had a lot of fun still in my last year's camp, and we got to do a lot of fun stuff. We had the 3-on-3 tournament, and we went to visit Army for kind of like a team building activity. So yeah, no, it was nothing but fun. And like you said, the facilities are really, really good, and everyone gets treated super well. The buffet, like the food was unbelievable. The workouts were very well organized. The skates were great. You get you get gear, you get the jerseys, you get some apparel. Like it was really, really fun, and I had a really good time.
Yeah, so development camp was a good experience to cover, and I enjoyed interacting with a lot of the prospects. And it's a chance for you guys to get your foot in the door, and I think they treated you guys really well based on what I was able to see. Now, let's talk about your collegiate experience, because you've played all over the country during your time here in North America. You've played East, you've played in the Midwest, you've played South, and now you're committed to play out West. What was it like playing for the University of Connecticut, Northern Michigan? And we'll talk about your ASU commitment in a few moments.
Like you said, it's different experiences. So it's different kind of cultural aspects. And every time you go to a new team, you got to, have a good first impression, because I really believe your first impression is last, like how you perform and how you go about business. That's how you're going to be treated for the next, whatever time you're in that program, organization, whatsoever. So at UConn, it was pretty interesting because I came in really as a young kid, and I think the experience at Connecticut really helped me mature. And, a lot of focus was placed on like defensive kind of abilities, and my defensive game, I don't think it was that good coming into UConn. So I think I grew a lot in that aspect of the game in my 2 years there. And obviously you have a great education. It's University of Connecticut. I started on my business management major. It was pretty good. Also had fun, like the basketball games the atmospheres at the basketball games are unmatched, and it's so fun. And, just to be around.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but back-to-back natty champions.
I know. And just as soon as I left, they won 2 in a row. So that's pretty impressive. And you kind of see the culture of that basketball team and how they train. And, we got to watch some practices, and, you see how that all comes to life. And you can see it through the 2 national championships in the past 2 years. But overall, like my hockey experience there was great. It was a lot of detail-oriented stuff that I learned, and I think it helped me and kind of shaped my 200-foot game that I kind of have right now and pride myself on. And then, I transferred to Northern for kind of hockey-related reasons, and I really like the coaching staff there, and I think like it's the best coaching staff I've been a part of. Getting coached by like Grant. Grant was, he was a coach for Team USA, and he was a coach at Minnesota, so he for sure knows what he's doing, and kind of, he's a very personable guy. We have a really good relationship, even though like I'm transferring now, but we still, talk about stuff, and it's great. I think I got to play more freely at Northern, and I got to make plays, and I got to kind of build my offensive game at Northern. So it was a good, like in my 4 years in college, I got to build both parts of my games at certain points of time. So now I think transferring to Arizona, I finally get to put it all together and kind of showcase what I am and how I can play.
So let's talk about your commitment to Arizona State. Why ASU? What made the school stand out? What made the program stand out from your perspective?
Right. I think one of the bigger reasons was because we played at ASU this year with Northern. We went to Arizona State and we played there, and just seeing that experience. Like,
I just want to say for the audience, I was there, and I called both games and gave you a shout out on air because I saw on my sheet that you were a Devils prospect.
Yeah, no, it was great, kind of seeing that atmosphere, seeing the city, seeing the game, kind of like with the first eye perspective was great for me. And I think that kind of pushed me out to Arizona already when they called me. When I make any decision. It's not based, on the bright and shiny. Like, it's not about the locker room for me. It's not about anything. Like, the facilities are a great bonus for sure, but I always make my decisions based on the people that I'm going to be around. So every big decision I make is the coaching staff. When transferring to Northern, it wasn't about the new locker room that they got. It wasn't about the rink, which is a good bonus. It was just about the coaching staff. Do I trust the coaching staff, and do they trust me? Do I feel like we're going to build a relationship that's going to help me and help the team? So the same thing is with ASU. I think the coaching staff is great, and I think they believe in me and they are going to trust me. So that's kind of why ASU, and obviously like ASU has a lot of good bonuses, like the weather, like it's great for, the mental aspect. You wake up, you want to go to work, you want to get better every day. It's sunny out. I think the other part is them being in the NCHC for the first year. I think it's a great boost for the program and just for the guys who are going to be on the team. It's great exposure. You get to play night in and night out. You play Denver, you play North Dakota, you play St. Cloud, you play all those good, top 15 teams in the country every weekend, which makes you better because, if you want to be good, you want to play against good players, but you also want to practice against good players, which is my kind of next reason is like I want to be on a really good team, practicing against great players every time so they can make you better and you're making them better on the other hand.
Well, I think Greg Powers and his entire staff are lucky to have you. And obviously you talked about it, them no longer being independent. And I would argue and say that this schedule for them is going to be rather tough, but I think everyone is up for the challenge to try to take the program to the next level because last season they were ranked night in and night out for most of the weeks. I think the only time they weren't ranked was first couple of weeks, but obviously the expectations weren't that high. But I think a lot of people from ASU surprised everyone and themselves. And I'm excited to see your contributions to the program. And my last question for you is, for anyone who's unfamiliar with your game, how would you describe it? What are some of your strengths?
Actually, this is a question, you always get asked for your like NHL interviews and like everyone kind of wants to know what you think of your game. And I always say, I don't think I have any like shiny aspect of my game. Like I don't have the best shot. I don't have the best skating. I'm not the fastest guy on the ice, but I think I play with my heart. And I think that's kind of what got me to, to the college level and now got me to getting drafted. And hopefully one day is going to get me to pro hockey is playing with your heart and being a part of the team, learning from your teammates. I think on the ice, I'm a 200-foot player that's responsible in the D zone and drive play for the neutral zone, making plays in the O zone. That's kind of all ties into my game. But I don't believe into like me having, like an impact just in one area of the game. I hope I can help the team in every aspect and not being off the ice, and on the ice as well. So that's kind of what it is and what I think that's what it's going to be.
Artem, thank you for taking the time to come on my show and talk all things from your time in Russia to now moving over to North America and your collegiate career and your commitment to ASU. Where can my audience find you at?
Like if it's social media, I know I have like there's the Twitter kind of the account there. I know Instagram works perfectly, and I'm always open to like some people like text me and ask me stuff about kind of what my plans are and stuff like that. So that's always open as well. And I'm hopefully going to be in Arizona in the summer training there too.
Well, the pleasure is always mine. Can't wait to see you at Mullet Arena, and we hope to see you light the lamp a few times.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been exciting.